Okay, so far we learned over here is that Vayakhel and Pekudei are two completely different perspectives on life, on the world, and everything in it. Vayakhel, they're both Jewish holy perspectives, just they're different. Vayakhel is about how everything belongs to Hashem. Everything is meant in the world to be used in the service of Hashem. Yaakov means to gather. So it's about a holistic perspective that it always belongs to Hashem. So in the Vayakhel model, the center of it is the Eibishter. And the Eibishter is where things start and where things finish. There's the Eibishter and everything is for him. Not looking at the various details of every single thing in the world, just looking at the goal. Everything's meant to be a Mishkan for Hashem. Versus Pekudei is about the counting each thing and looking what the value of each thing is. And each of these, and so that in the center of the Pekudei model, the first thing that exists is the world. What is this table? What's this table for? And yes, it's in the Pekudei model, it's also about the Eibusher, but the question is, what is this thing, which that's the first thing we know about, what is this thing for? Versus the Vayakhel model, there's the Eibusher, and everything has to be used in his service. So there's an advantage in each of these perspectives. In the Pekudei model, the advantage is that you're going to be able to make more of an impact with the things that you have. You're going to be able to attune and to guide each thing towards its better on target. You're aiming better. You're not shooting from the hip. You're looking at the thing, you're looking at the characteristics of the thing, and you're trying to figure out what this thing is meant to be used for. On the other hand, you're only going to be able to channel that item towards its intrinsic value, towards the words of Hashem, which vivify it. You're trying to connect the item with its own godly energy, with its own godliness. You're not trying to transcend it. On the contrary, you're trying to find its best usage. In the Pekudei model, you're not transcending the world. You're just working with the godly energy within the world. Versus the Vayakhel model, your goal is to connect to the Eibusher. So your goal is not about creation. Your goal is transcending it, jumping above it. Your activity has to do with reaching the godly energy that transcends creation. Okay, fine. There's a beautiful vart from Rabbi Elkan about a story of the Alter Rebbe, which maybe lends some explanation to this, but here it goes. There was a chassid of the Alter Rebbe, his name was Ableib. And Ableib had a group of chassidim in his town where he would be their mentor. And one of his chassidim was very upset because all of his friends were chassidim of other rebbes, and the other rebbes would make lots of miracles. And whenever he would meet other chassidim, they'd talk about their miracles. Chabad, at the time at least, wasn't into making miracles, wasn't into talking about miracles. And so he felt like he had a grade B rebbe. His rebbe is not as cool as all other rebbes. All of his friends are into this new Hasidic movement, but his rebbe isn't as good as everybody else. So he didn't share his frustration with his rebbe. He kept it to himself. And from time to time, the Alter Rebbe would get a report from Reb Leib about the various Hasidim. So when Reb Leib wrote the Alter about the various Hasidim, and you mentioned this guy also, the Alter maybe didn't mention him. The Alter said, "What's going on with this guy? You have to shake him up, and that will be for him for a sign and for his friends for a miracle." So you go over to the guy and says, "What's kvetched here?" And everybody said, "What's kvetched here? What's bothering you?" So he told his mashpia. So he told the Alter Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe actually apparently knows about this, and that should be for you for a sign for your friends for a miracle. Now you have something to share. This is, and so the Blade reported the Alter Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe said, there's two versions of the story. Also, the correct the original version was the way I heard it before. The Rebbe corrected it was Alter Rebbe said, "What's the big deal making a miracle? Anyone who's a tefach above the floor can make a miracle. Anyone who's a tefach above the floor can make a miracle." So Rabbi Yel said the correct version is the Alter Rebbe said that the earth is Malchus. In Kabbalah, earth is Malchus, the lowest sphere of Atzilus. What's a big deal making a miracle? Anyone's a little bit above a tefach above Malchus, a little bit above Malchus to make a miracle. What does that mean? Malchus means sovereignty, but Malchus is the source, the 10 utterances with which God made the world. The 10 utterances are about God's sovereignty because everything in the world contributes to God's sovereignty in a different way. The reason Hashem made the world and everything in it is for His sovereignty, for Him to be king over the entire universe. Therefore, Hashem made the whole universe. Everything in the world is about God's sovereignty. And everyone has a different way in contributing to God's sovereignty. So from the perspective of Malchus, everything has to be the way it is. But if you go above Malchus, above the sphere of Malchus, there's no need for each creature to be its way. In Malchus, each creature is given its task. Each one has its way, contributes to Hashem's sovereignty. And therefore, everything has to be the way it is, and everything has its unique contribution. That's only looking at it from the perspective of Malchus. So, on the other hand, looking at it from higher than Malchus, things are more nebulous, things are more flexible, things don't have to be the way they are, and they can be switched around. Above the utterances of Hashem, above the words of Hashem, the utterances can be changed. Things don't have to be the same way. As the famous story of Farbrengen Vayakhel said, when his daughter lit the Shabbos candles with vinegar, he said, the one who told the oil to burn will tell the vinegar to burn. In other words, Hashem, the words of Hashem, which say the oil should be this way, not the other way, that's only in the level of Malchus. But if you go above Malchus, or Farbrengen Vayakhel is able to connect to Gali energy beyond Malchus, so then things can be switched around. Vayakhel means to go beyond Malchus. Vayakhel means that you're not looking at, in the Malchus perspective, the way you are and the way Hashem made you, that's hard and fast, and that has to be the way things are, and that's important. That's Bekude, that's the perspective of Malchus. That's the perspective of, so to speak, Hashem needs every subject, king needs every subject in his king to be the king. So the Eibush, so to speak, needs each creature to be the way they are for his sovereignty to be the way it needs to be. That's only from the perspective of Malchus. Malchus is a source of time and space. Malchus is a source of fragmentation. Above Malchus, there's no time, there's no space, no fragmentation. Things don't have to be the way they are. So my contribution to Hashem's glory isn't relevant to the way I'm doing it specifically. Above Malchus, there's no division. So everyone has good davening days and not such good davening days. So we think there are good davening days. That's a day we did it, or everyone has things they like. They think that I was speaking to my grandfather, but he wanted me to do something which I didn't like doing. So he says, you only like things which are openly kedusha, things which are for kedusha, which aren't openly holy. You get annoyed by. That's what he was telling me. He was saying like relax. This is who cares how it looks? Look where it's going to. So in Malchus perspective, a Kudi perspective, finds a difference between the various things that you're doing. It says this thing is more important, this thing is less important. That's the Kudi perspective.
Is it in Malchus?
In Malchus, that there is that, because I'm contributing to Hashem. Hashem, so to speak, needs me. Thank you very much. Whenever I say ribbit, Rabbi Reber knows I need a tea. Anyway, so
now we all know. Thanks.
But in the perspective of Malchus, each creature has its own way of contributing to Hashem's sovereignty, and has to be that specific way, and it can't be a different way. And each one, so to speak, Hashem needs you, so to speak. In other words, in perspective of Malchus, Hashem makes each creature to be its way. In Malchus, look at Malchus itself. Malchus is about the world being a certain way. Malchus is about the creation being a certain way. That's what Malchus is. Malchus is the source of creation, the energy of Hashem, which says to create a sky, so to speak. What is it about? It's about the sky, about creating the sky. But above Malchus, there isn't this division, there isn't this separation. And so not only is above Malchus the place of miracles, Tafach above the earth, Tafach above Malchus is that source of miracles, but also there is a possibility to be Bittul b'Metzias. Malchus is about Bittul Hayesh. Malchus is about, in the Chassid lexicon, Bittul Hayesh means that first there is someone, and the someone is subservient to the Eibishter. But there's no total obligation of self. Malchus, so to speak, is about me and how I serve Hashem. But above Malchus, Bittul Metzias, there's no sense of self. It's not about the created reality. It's about the opposite. It's about the revelation of Hashem. I think that a lot of my grandfather was once talking about, after Gimel Tammuz, a lot of different factions within Lubavitch had all great ideas of what to do after his funeral. And they had a meeting of rabbis about discussing what, it wasn't just a meeting of rabbis, rabbis talking to Lubavitch, talking to all the Chassidim. My grandfather spoke by the meeting, and he said a story of Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov had a stepmother, and the stepmother, I don't know exactly the relationship, but basically Baal Shem Tov found on the counter in his home, he found some zayir milk, found some sour milk, and he had it. And his stepmother said, "Why do you have it?" He said, "Because it's good." So she told him, "For a good thing, you have to ask too. Even for a good thing, so my grandfather was saying everyone has great ideas, but you have to ask. But a lot of times mistakes are made because of the Vayakhel perspective, because of the revelation of Hashem, without looking at the Pekudei, without looking at the details of where things are really placed in creation. And that's why it's so hard to guide a Vayakhel perspective, because when you're in the Vayakhel mode and someone says, "Dude, look at where things are going," you're like, you're so nidrik, you're so low. Why are you looking at the floor? Look. And when you're in the Vayakhel perspective, you're like, it's the Eibishter. It's by the revelation of Hashem. So in the Vayakhel perspective, there'll be lots of mistakes. But on the other hand, in the Pekudei perspective, there could be no dreams. So there's need for both, and the idea of Vayakhel by itself is about this Indian, about this very fundamental perspective we need to have. That's all for Hashem. That's yes, it can lead to mistakes, true, but that has to be there as well. You can't have one without the other. The guys who are challenging the Rabbanim with their ideas are the ones who make things happen. The ones who are whatever, doesn't matter what happens today. Today it's yesterday, and tomorrow the same as today. Those guys are missing. They may not be making big mistakes, but they're not going to make any impact either. So Vayakhel is about this. Vayakhel is about gathering all together, connecting to that which is above the world. Okay, now I was going to explain why we Parsha Shkolim after Vayakhel. In Yonishal Vayakhel, the idea of Vayakhel as a separate Torah portion is emphasized even more this year, when after we read Vayakhel, we read Parsha Shkolim. I'm just going to say the questions everyone has about Parsha Shkolim outside, and we'll go back inside. The mitzvah the Torah tells us this week is that everyone has to give a half a coin. The rich man should not give more, the poor man should not give less. So question number one is, there's a rule, but all matters of holiness, that they're supposed to be perfect. The mitzvah is, when offering a sacrifice, the sacrifice has to be whole. And the vessels of the Beis Hamikdash have to be whole, and when you pour something inside them, they have to be poured to the top. The Kohen who offers the sacrifices has to be whole. He can't have any blemishes in his body. But the Torah tells us here regarding the half coins that you're using these half coins to make the sockets, the Mishkan, the foundation of the entire Mishkan, which in the Mishkan you bring all these sacrifices in. And the foundation of this, which is these coins specifically should not be whole, they should be half. Why? If everything in the Torah is supposed to be, in the temple is supposed to be whole, why is this half? Number two, since you're only giving a half coin, the Torah says a full coin is worth 20 gera, only give a half. Why does the Torah have to tell us how much a whole coin is worth? Just say, give 10 gera. We don't even have to know that it's a half coin. Just say, give the equivalent of 10 gera, which happens to be a half of a shekel. Gera is another currency. So the Torah says a shekel is worth 20 gera, give half. If the Torah wouldn't have mentioned the amount of a whole shekel, we wouldn't have had to been told to give a half a shekel. Just tell us, give 10 gera. This question is emphasized more when you look at the following verses in Parshas Kisisa. When the Torah says the components, the various spices, and Torah says that you should give cinnamon, and the Torah says that half of it is 250. It doesn't say how much the whole thing is. And even more, regarding the 250, which the Torah says that you have to give it in two installments, 250 at a time. So the Torah is saying that it should be contributed in halves. And the Torah says that you have to weigh them each at 250. Although the whole thing equals 500, you have to weigh them each give them two different times. So the Torah only says there 250, but doesn't mention the 500. And there, you're supposed to give it. You're supposed to give a total of 500. And the Torah says give them in 250. Give them in two installments of 250. This measurement of aromatic cinnamon. But here, regarding the half shekel, the whole thing that's supposed to be given is only a half. And yet the Torah mentions the whole thing. Why is Torah mentioning the whole thing? There, the Torah doesn't say the word 500. There just says 250 twice. They're supposed to give a measurement of 250 and two separate installments, and the total is 500. But there, the Torah doesn't tell us the total is 500. Here, the Torah does say the total is 500. The total is 20 shekel. You're not even giving 20 shekel. Question number 3. It says the rich man should not give more, the poor man should not give less. Why does it have to talk about the classes of society here? Just mention don't give more or less. Why does it have to say the rich man should not give more, the poor man should not give less? Question number, okay, so those are the questions. And the answer is, the central point of the answer is, giving the half coin is a separate thing, which is not relevant to the details of how we serve Hashem. It's something which is not relevant to the various ways we serve Hashem. It's a distinct thing. And it's similar to the idea of Vayakhel, about elevating everything for Hashem. So what do I say? To understand exactly what this unique service of Hashem that the half shekel represents, let's first answer a question about the idea of the half shekel. What's the meaning of half specifically? Aleph, one meaning of the half coin is the half coin emphasizes the unity of the Jewish people. Many, many times, the Rebbe said that there's a difference between loving your fellow Jew and being achtos. Achtos is not just that you love another person, but that you're one. Like the famous story of Bar 11, Tzadik Yerushalayim. He once took his wife to the doctor, and he told the doctor, "My wife's foot is hurting us." So that's the idea of achtos, that every single Jew has to know and feel that he alone is only a half, and his perfection is dependent on his unity with another person. Only by them joining together and uniting can they become one whole shekel, one complete shekel. So that's one meaning, one lesson of the half coin that every Jew has to feel by themselves. They're a half coin. They need the other. Base. Our second point here is this idea of the half coin is not about us vis-a-vis other Jews, but every Jew and all the Jewish people vis-a-vis Hashem. That all the Jewish people, she's showing in Machzis next page, all the Jews are a half coin, because Baruch Machzis Vayakhel, and the Eibush is the other half. And the Jewish people and Hashem are one. They become one entity. They become the Maggid explains the pasuk where Hashem tells Moshe to make two trumpets. He explains that the word trumpet is made up of the word half of a form. And he says, the Maggid says the two half forms are Hashem and the Jewish people. That Hashem, so to speak, and the Jewish people aren't complete without each other. So those are the two explanations of the half coin. They're meant to tell us you need God and you need each other. And the Rebbe now is going to say that these two explanations are related to each other. These two explanations are connected to each other. I mean, they seem very distinct, right? What makes me whole? Do you make me whole? Or does God make me whole? So these two explanations are connected to each other. In order for me to love another Jew and to unite with another Jew in a perfect way, it's only if I feel that me without Hashem I'm incomplete without Hashem. As Azar explains in chapter 32 in Tanya, he says, what's the derech yashar v'kala? What's the straight and easy path to achieve Avos Yisrael? It's by realizing that we're all equal. We have one Father, and therefore all Jews are literally brothers. Why are we literally brothers? We're brothers because we all because we all have the same Father. Because we all have the same root. The source of our souls is all rooted in the same way in the one God. So how is it that we're able to unite? We're able to become one. We're able to unite because I sense who my Father is. That the author begins by saying that if your body is more important than your neshama, you never achieve Avos Yisrael in a real way. Why? Because everyone's body is different. So if you're going to look at another person based upon with a hierarchy that the physical is more important than the spiritual, so all the love you're going to have is based upon something peripheral, what you sense to the person, whatever physical appeal the person has, whether it's actual physical appeal or it's something external, their character, their charisma. But in order to really unite with another person for longevity, those whatever characteristics those are, they change. But besides that, in quantity, in quality, you're only loving the other person based from something external in them, which is external in you also. You're using your heart and mind, which are more external to your soul, to analyze another person, and therefore your love is as deep as your appreciation for them. Versus if you were to feel that your neshama is more important, and you care about your neshama more than you care about your body. If in that kind of perspective, Alter says, then you're able to achieve Avos Yisrael. You're able to realize that the fact that we're brothers, we all have we all have the same source in Hashem. Then you feel like family with everybody because you feel that that you and the other person are brothers at the same neshama. So it depends what's more important, the body or the neshama.
If I were only being, couldn't even recognize how beautiful Sarah was till we went to.
Right. But doesn't didn't love her.
Oh yeah.
So Rebbe says that. So in order to achieve Avos Yisrael, you have to feel that you without the Eibishter are half a coin. The more you care about your relationship with the Eibishter, the more you're able to achieve Avos Yisrael. It says earlier on, in the beginning of Tanya, that the soul of every Jew is an actual part of Hashem. It says the Machshanda says when you have a portion of the essence of Hashem, you have the whole essence. You have the whole essence. In other words, you can't divide the essence. So every Jew who's a part of the essence of Hashem is really Hashem himself. The Jew and Hashem are one. And so the idea, what's Hashem telling us? When he tells us to give the half coin, that you have to feel that you are a part of Hashem. To the extent that you without God, you and God are like two halves. And only together are you complete. So though you and Hashem, Jewish people and Hashem are one. So specifically by feeling the idea of how you and the Eibushter are one, that will enable you. That's Derech Yashar V'Kala. That's a straight and easy path that leads to. So that's how these two explanations of the half coin, meaning me without Hashem and me without you. How is that connected? Because in order for me to feel that me without you are only that I'm only half a coin, is by me realizing that who I am, that I am a neshama as part of Hashem, and therefore I look at you as my brother. L'chaim. Any questions, comments?
This is the perspective I have.
This perspective of Vayakhel, we'll see.
It's
Exactly.
like Adam